All right, a huge welcome to the team. So glad you're here. We're going to dive right into something that's, well, it's at the very heart of what we do. It's the core of a computer's performance. We're talking about DRAM.
So let's start with a puzzle. You ever see this? Someone gets a brand new computer. It's got a super powerful processor, but it still feels kind of slow sometimes. What gives? Well, the problem usually isn't the main engine, the CPU. The real bottleneck is something else entirely. It's the computer's high-speed workspace. Think of it like a critical bridge connecting that powerful processor to all your data.
Okay, here's our game plan for today. We'll start with the basics, what we call the computer's quick brain. Then we'll get into what makes DRAM dynamic. We'll look at its shape and speed, then dive into our own team group product family, and finally, see how we're powering some of the most demanding gamers and creators out there. Sound good? Let's go.
All right, section 1, your computer's quick brain. And believe me, it really is all about the need for speed. So let's talk RAM. You know, the best way to think about it is like your workbench. It's not the big tool chest where you store everything you own. That's your hard drive or SSD. No, the workbench is for the stuff you are actively working on right now. The hammer, the nails, the blueprint. For a computer, that's your web browser, your game, your video editing software, all laid out and ready to go. And that workbench analogy, it scales perfectly. The more things you're trying to do at once, you've got 50 browser tabs open, plus Spotify, plus a game, the bigger your workbench needs to be. If it's too small, everything gets cluttered and slow. That's why having more RAM is so crucial for multitasking. It just makes everything feel smooth.
Okay, so that's RAM in general. But let's zoom in a bit, because what we do here is all about a very specific type of RAM, the kind that's in pretty much every modern PC and laptop you can think of. We're talking about DRAM.
See that D in front of RAM? It stands for dynamic. And that one word, dynamic, is the key to everything. It's what makes this memory what it is, and to understand why, we have to go microscopic, right down to the level of a single memory cell. So what does dynamic actually mean? Well, it's a constant active process. A tiny electrical charge gets sent to activate a specific memory cell. Then, a little component called a capacitor gets filled with a charge, that's a 1, or left empty, which is a 0. Simple, right? But here's the catch. That little capacitor, it leaks. Like a tiny bucket with a hole in it. The charge drains away in just milliseconds, so the computer has to constantly go back and refresh it. Imagine doing that for billions of these buckets, thousands of times per second. That's DRAM.
So you've got these billions of tiny, leaky buckets that need constant attention. How in the world do we get all of that inside a computer? Well, we package them all together onto what we call a memory module. And this is the physical product you'll actually get to see and handle. Now, these modules come in a couple of main flavors. For big desktop computers, you'll see what's called a UDIMM. It's the most common type out there for consumers. But for laptops or those little mini PCs where space is tight, we use a smaller version called a SODIMM, which just stands for small outline. Same tech, just in a different size package to fit the device.
Okay, this next part is really clever. You take one of our memory modules, you pop it into a computer, and the computer instantly knows exactly what it is. The size, the speed, all the technical details. How? It doesn't have to guess. The module basically has its own little ID card. That ID card is actually a tiny chip on the module that stores data, called the SPD, which stands for Serial Presence Detect. When you boot up the computer, it just reads the SPD and boom, it knows everything it needs to know to get running perfectly. No guesswork, just instant identification. Super efficient.
And speaking of performance, this technology is always evolving. We're constantly pushing it forward. Just look at the jump from the last generation, DDR4, to the current standard DDR5. It's not a small step, it's a huge leap. We're talking a more than 60% increase in speed right from the start. That's a massive performance boost.
Now, one of the really big changes with DDR5 isn't just speed, it's how it handles power. With older DDR4, the motherboard was in charge of power management. But with DDR5, we moved the brains for power control directly onto the memory module itself. There's a special chip for it called a PMIC. Why does that matter? It gives the module way more control over its own power,
which makes it more stable and a whole lot more efficient.
So we make this incredibly fast memory, but you might be wondering, how does a regular person actually use that speed? Do they need to be a computer genius? Nope. We make it super simple. We build in what's essentially a turbo button. It's a pre-saved profile called XMP for Intel systems or EXPO for AMD. And with just one click in the computer settings, users can instantly unlock the full advertised speed they paid for. It's that easy.
Okay, so now that you've got the tech down, let's talk about what we do with it. This is where it all comes together. Let's look at the Team Group product family.
At Team Group, we don't believe in a one-size-fits-all solution. We've built our product lines for very specific people. First up is our Elite series. This is for your everyday user. The focus here is pure, simple reliability and solid performance. Then we have T-Force. This is our high-octane brand for gamers and enthusiasts who demand the absolute maximum speed. And finally, there's T-Create, specially engineered for content creators where rock-solid stability is everything.
Now let's zoom in on those two specialized lines, T-Force and T-Create, because these are for the most demanding users out there, people whose entire job or their biggest passion relies on their computer working perfectly every single time. You can really see the two different philosophies here. T-Force is all about getting the win. It's about raw speed, aggressive looks, cool RGB lighting, and pushing performance to the absolute edge. On the other side, you have T-Create. This is about building a masterpiece. It's for the video editor, the 3D designer. For them, a system crash is a disaster, so stability is king. When you look closer at T-Force, every feature is there to give gamers an edge. We use a special, patented process to test and select only the absolute best memory chips. We design these awesome advanced heat sinks because we know overclocking gets hot. And we even have specific lines optimized for AMD or Intel, so you know you're getting every last drop of performance.
And then you look at T-Create, and you see a totally different set of priorities. Here, it's all about stability. We use a more robust 10-layer circuit board. We offer an optional feature called ECC, or Error Correcting Code, which is amazing. It can find and fix small data errors in real time. For a creator, data corruption is their worst nightmare. These features are their insurance policy.
And this, right here, is the key takeaway. What you do here, it matters a lot. It's so much more than just making a computer part. Every single module that leaves our factory, whether it's an Elite module for a student's laptop, a T-Force kit for an esports champion, or a T-Create for a movie animator, it becomes a vital part of someone's life. You're helping people create, compete, and connect all over the globe.
So think about that. From one single invisible transistor all the way to a world-class product that somebody out there is depending on right now. That is the journey, and that's what we build here, together. So once again, welcome to the Team Group family. We're so excited to have you. Now, what will you help us build next?